The moment is almost cinematic in its cruelty. You're standing in a group, perhaps at a professional mixer or a casual dinner with friends, when it happens. A tactless comment slices through the air. Maybe it's a sarcastic jab disguised as humor, or a blatant interruption that suggests your voice holds no weight. The room goes quiet, or worse, it erupts in laughter at your expense. In that split second, your heart rate spikes, your face flushes, and a dozen potential retorts race through your mind. Do you fight back? Do you laugh it off and die a little inside? Do you freeze? We have all stood in that uncomfortable spotlight, feeling undervalued and humiliated. The burning question that follows is always the same. How do I respond in a way that preserves my dignity and actually commands respect even from those who seem intent on tearing it down? The answer does not lie in aggression, nor does it lie in passivity. The secret to navigating these treacherous social waters is found in the ancient, timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy blended with modern psychological tactics. It is about understanding that while you cannot control the behavior of others, their rudeness, their insecurity, their need to dominate, you have absolute, sovereign power over your own mind and reactions. As the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." To truly master the art of earning respect, we must move beyond the idea of tips and tricks and look at this as a holistic approach to how you carry yourself in the world. It begins before a single word is spoken. It starts with the architecture of your presence. Consider the unspoken language of value. Respect is often determined in the first few seconds of an interaction, rooted deeply in nonverbal cues. Imagine a scenario where you are attending a high-stakes networking event. You are seated, holding a drink, when a new acquaintance approaches to introduce themselves. If you remain seated, offering a limp hand and a fleeting glance while mumbling a greeting, you have unconsciously signaled that this interaction and, by extension, yourself, is of little consequence. You have built a barrier of indifference. Now reimagine that moment through a Stoic lens of intentionality. The person approaches. You immediately set your drink down. You stand up. You square your shoulders, look them directly in the eye, and offer a firm handshake. This simple act of rising is not merely old-fashioned etiquette. It is a physical manifestation of self-respect. You are physically elevating yourself to meet them on equal ground. You are signaling, without a word, "I am here, I am present, and I value this interaction." When you treat yourself as someone who is worthy of taking up space and engaging fully, the world tends to follow suit. By governing your physical actions with dignity, you set a standard that others are subconsciously compelled to match. But physical presence is only the foundation. The true test of character arises when the social dynamic turns hostile. One of the most common forms of disrespect is the interruption. It is a power play, a signal that the interrupter believes their words hold more value than yours. The natural instinctive reaction is to speak louder, to talk over them, or to shrink away in frustration. But Stoicism teaches us that emotional reactivity is a form of slavery. If someone can make you angry or flustered on command, they own you. Instead of raising your voice, try the power of the calculated pause and the steady gaze. Let's say you are sharing an idea during a meeting or telling a story at a dinner party, and someone cuts across you to hijack the conversation. Do not combat them with noise. Stop speaking immediately. Turn your head and fix your eyes on them. Do not look angry. Look calm, curious, and unwavering. Hold that gaze for 2 or 3 seconds longer than is comfortable. This silence is loud. It highlights the awkwardness of their breach of social etiquette. By refusing to compete for the floor, you change the dynamic. You are not a participant in a shouting match. You are an observer of their rudeness. Often, the interrupter will falter under the weight of the silence, realizing they have overstepped. Once the silence has done its heavy lifting, you simply say, "As I was saying," and continue. You have reclaimed your time not by force, but by the sheer weight of your composure. You have demonstrated that you are not easily rattled, a trait that universally commands respect. But what of the friend who uses humor as a weapon? We all know the type, the person who makes a derogatory comment and then hides behind the shield of, "I was just joking," or "you're too sensitive." This is a trap. If you get angry, you look humorless and insecure. If you laugh, you are complicit in your own humiliation. There is a psychological jujitsu move that dismantles this dynamic instantly: feigned ignorance. When someone cracks a joke at your expense in a group setting, do not react with emotion. Instead, look at them with a blank, puzzled expression and ask them calmly, "I don't get it. Can you explain it to me?" Or simply, "Could you repeat that? I didn't hear you."
By asking them to repeat or explain the joke, you force them to step out of the realm of humor and into the realm of logic. A joke relies on timing and shared understanding. When you force someone to deconstruct a rude joke, the humor evaporates, leaving only the cruelty exposed. Watching someone try to explain why mocking your appearance or your career is funny is a painful experience. For them, they will likely stumble, mumble, and retreat. The group's laughter will die down, replaced by an awareness of the joker's tactlessness. You haven't attacked them, you have simply held up a mirror. You have maintained your stoic calm while allowing their own words to defeat them. Sometimes, however, the disrespect is not a joke, but a direct provocation. There are people who, driven by their own insecurities, will try to bait you into an argument to make themselves feel superior. They might bring up a past failure of yours or criticize a choice you've made, looking for that spark of defensiveness in your eyes. In these moments, remember the words of Epictetus. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The goal of the provocateur is to drag you into the mud. If you argue, you are in the mud. If you defend yourself, you are in the mud. The only way to win is to refuse to play their game entirely. This is where the unrelated question technique becomes your greatest asset. Imagine a family gathering where a relative makes a snide comment about your relationship status or your job. The tension in the room spikes. Everyone waits for the explosion. Instead, you pause, look at them thoughtfully, and ask, "By the way, does anyone know if that new Italian bakery downtown is open on Sundays? I've been meaning to try their cannoli." The effect is jarring. It is a complete non sequitur. By responding with something utterly banal and positive, you signal that their attempt to hurt you was so ineffective it didn't even register as an insult. You are essentially saying, "Your hostility is irrelevant to my reality." This causes a short circuit in the aggressor's brain. They prepared for a fight, not a question about pastries. The audience, sensing the diffusion of tension, will likely latch on to the new topic with relief. You have successfully framed the aggressor as the one bringing negative energy, while you remain the cool, collected architect of a pleasant conversation. Yet we must acknowledge a hard truth. There are environments where psychological techniques and stoic resilience are not enough. There are situations where disrespect is systemic, chronic, and corrosive. In these instances, the ultimate act of self-respect is not to endure, but to leave. Consider the story of Sarah, a talented, creative professional who landed what she thought was her dream job. Over time, however, the dream soured. Her manager habitually belittled her contributions, interrupted her in meetings, and took credit for her work. Sarah, trying to be resilient, doubled down on her efforts. She thought if she just worked harder, if she just proved her worth, the respect would follow. But respect is not a transaction. You cannot buy it with overtime. One afternoon, during a critical strategy meeting, her manager dismissed her well-researched proposal with a wave of his hand and a condescending chuckle. The room went silent. In the past, Sarah would have argued or retreated into her shell. This time, she realized something profound. Her value was not up for negotiation, and she was casting pearls before swine. She didn't scream, she didn't make a scene. She simply closed her laptop, stood up, and said, "I can see my contributions are not required here." She walked out of the room and shortly after resigned. It was a shock to the system of the company. Her absence was felt far more deeply than her presence ever was, because her presence had been taken for granted. Walking away is the ultimate boundary. It sends the message that you are willing to lose a job, a relationship, or an opportunity rather than lose yourself. It is the practical application of the Stoic belief that we must ruthlessly curate the influences in our lives. As Marcus Aurelius noted, we should not waste our time on things that do not align with our nature or our values. If an environment is committed to misunderstanding and devaluing you, the most powerful thing you can do is remove your energy from that environment. Being a respected absence is infinitely better than being a disrespected presence. Integrating these strategies into your life requires a shift in mindset. It requires you to stop looking for external validation and start cultivating internal fortitude. The Stoics believed that our character is our destiny. When you encounter disrespect, view it not as a tragedy, but as a training ground. Every rude comment is an opportunity to practice patience. Every interruption is a chance to practice composure. Every provocation is a test of your self-control. You are not a victim of the social world. You are an active participant in shaping it. When you refuse to be dragged into pettiness, when you stand tall, when you speak with intention, and when you enforce your boundaries with calm action rather than heated words, you become a lighthouse. You project a light of self-assuredness that naturally repels disrespect and attracts admiration. So, the next time you feel the sting of a sarcastic comment or the frustration of being overlooked, take a breath. Remember that you have the tools. You can stand up. You can stare them down with silence. You can dismantle their jokes with questions. You can derail their hostility with indifference. And if all fails, you have the power to walk away with your head high. Respect is not something you beg for. It is something you build brick by brick through the unwavering demonstration of your own self-worth. You teach the world how to treat you. Make sure the lesson is one of dignity.